Hey everyone, and welcome to the show. Have you ever thought about finding hope, like actual threads of hope woven through something like war?
Yeah, it's kind of an improbable idea, isn't it? Finding these little bright spots when everything around you seems to be falling apart.
It really is, and that's what we're going to be looking at today.
And what we're going to see is how these really ordinary things, um, a shared meal or a good book can become these incredibly powerful anchors in people's lives.
Yeah, exactly. And our guides for this deep dive are going to be two pretty compelling women.
Two women whose lives become intertwined in really interesting ways.
Right. And we're going to be immersing ourselves in Kate and Frida, a novel of friendship, food, and books by Kim Fay.
And as you hear that title, you might think, oh, this is going to be a lighthearted read.
It's just a feel-good story.
But trust me, there's a lot more to it than that.
Oh, definitely. We're going to unpack how identity is formed, how connections can grow across like huge distances, and how meaning can be found in some pretty unexpected places.
It's about those universal experiences we all share, right? Like trying to figure out who we are and where we fit in, and finding those things that bring us comfort and a sense of belonging.
Exactly. And if you're into these kind of deep dives with us, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, we love having you along for the ride.
Okay, so our main source for today's deep dive is going to be the letters between Kate and Frida, these two women in the early 90s.
And through their letters, you'll get this really intimate look at their friendship, how it grows and changes, and their thoughts on, everything from the books they're reading to the food they're enjoying.
And all of this is happening against these two really different backdrops.
Right. We have Seattle, this kind of cozy bookstore setting.
Full of dreams and possibilities.
And then we have Sarajevo, war-torn Sarajevo, which is obviously a completely different reality.
A much harsher reality for sure.
And you see Kate, kind of dreaming of a life beyond the bookstore.
Maybe yearning for something more.
And then Frida, who's actually stepping into this really challenging world of war correspondence.
So how does a friendship even begin, let alone deepen, when you have these two people living such different lives?
Well, that's what's so fascinating about their story, right? It starts with a simple postcard from Frida to the Puget Sound Book Company in October 1991.
Okay, I love that. A postcard to a bookstore.
And it's from Paris, and she's just expressing her love for bookstores.
It's like this universal language among book lovers.
Exactly, and she even mentions this moule marinière competition she's having with someone named Kirby Olson.
Okay, so already we're getting this sense of her personality.
Right. She's vibrant, she's engaging, she's already connecting with people through shared passions, even if it's just a friendly food rivalry.
And then Kate replies in November of 91, and you can already see the connection forming between them.
Oh, absolutely. And Kate shares her own dream of working at that very bookstore.
It's clearly a special place for her.
And she talks about these daughter days with her dad and sister Franny.
These trips to Seattle where visiting that bookstore was always like the highlight.
It's like this shared love for books and bookstores becomes this really important foundation for their friendship.
So Kate sends Frida her first Surprise Me book, Moon Tiger, by Penelope Lively.
That's a great book.
Kate loved it and actually set this goal for herself to hand sell 100 copies.
Wow, that's ambitious.
But the really interesting thing is that the main character, Claudia, is a war correspondent in Egypt during World War II.
That's a really subtle but significant detail, isn't it? It's like Kate is picking up on this unspoken interest of Frida's.
Even though Frida hasn't explicitly said anything about wanting to be a war correspondent.
Right, it shows a real attentiveness on Kate's part, this willingness to see and understand Frida, even beyond what's being said out loud.
Now we have to talk about food because it's so much more than just sustenance in this story.
Oh, absolutely. Food becomes this really powerful symbol for both of them.
And we see this difference in perspective right away.
Like how they initially approach food writing.
Yeah, Frida's mom is this established food writer for the LA Times.
So food writing is already kind of part of her world.
But Frida doesn't quite get the appeal of MFK Fisher, who Kate recommends.
Which is interesting because Kate becomes totally infatuated with MFK Fisher.
Especially that essay Borderland about heated tangerines.
Oh, that's a beautiful piece of writing.
And Kate even tries to hand sell 100 copies to serve it forth.
Like she did with Moon Tiger.
I know, right? She gets so enthusiastic about the author she loves.
And it's like she's discovering this whole new way of experiencing and understanding food.
Through the lens of these amazing writers.
Right. It's not just about the recipes or the ingredients anymore. It's about connecting food to deeper emotions and memories.
And later she gets into Laurie Colwin's home cooking.
Oh, I love Laurie Colwin.
And she focuses on this connection between food and family and friendship.
The way food can create a sense of belonging and shared experience?
And she tries out the recipe for beef leek and barley soup.
I've made that one. It's delicious.
I need to try it. It sounds so comforting.
It really is, and this idea of food as comfort becomes even more powerful later in the book.
When Kate is in Paris with Lejla and Branka,
And they share this Bosnian dish, Bazanski Lonak.
right? It's like this act of sharing food becomes this way of connecting across cultures and bridging these incredibly difficult experiences.
Even in the midst of war and displacement, food can offer this sense of grounding and connection.
Okay, let's move on to another really important theme that runs throughout the story, the role of books.
Oh yes, they're both booksellers. They're voracious readers, and books are so much more than just objects to them.
They're like these mirrors reflecting their own desires and their inner worlds.
And they're also guides offering new perspectives and opening up possibilities.
So we see Frida in Paris, and she's looking for Hemingway.
Which you might expect, right? She's in this iconic literary city.
But she's not just content with finding Hemingway,
She's also searching for his better half.
which I think is so interesting because it suggests that she's not just interested in the famous male authors.
Right. She's actively seeking out the voices and perspectives that have often been overlooked or marginalized.
And Kate has her own realization about books as guides.
In a kind of funny way.
Yeah, she admits to using Lonely Planet guides for research for her own novel.
Which wouldn't be a problem, except
Except that her novel is set in all these exotic locations that she's never actually visited.
so she's relying on these secondhand accounts to create this whole world.
It's like she's realizing the limitations of her own experience.
And the importance of actually getting out there and experiencing the world firsthand.
And then there's this really powerful moment when Frida sends Kate a copy of Angle of Repose by Wallace Stegner.
Oh, that's such a beautiful and thought-provoking book.
It's described as a potential message from the universe for Kate's writing.
It's like Frida is recognizing Kate's potential even if Kate herself doesn't quite see it yet.
And we also see how their shared reading experiences shape their conversations and their understanding of the world.
Like how Roy is reading Gertrude Stein.
And Sven suggests Kierkegaard's Fear and Trembling for Kate's anxiety.
Even though she kind of tries to hide it away at first.
Yeah, but it shows how these books are not just isolated things. They're part of this larger web of connections and conversations.
Right, they're influencing their thoughts and their relationships and their perspectives on life.
And then in 1993, Kate sends this really thoughtful package of books to Frida in Sarajevo.
The Ramona series, a Yugoslavian cookbook, and The Road for Miyama, specifically for Slavenka.
It's clear that she's chosen these books carefully, based on what she knows about Frida and the situation in Sarajevo.
It's this beautiful act of care and understanding.
And their letters also reveal these really personal journeys of navigating identity and pursuing dreams,
Like Frida's secret ambition to become a war correspondent.
which she keeps hidden from her parents initially.
Yeah, she's clearly driven by this desire to witness and report on these major world events.
But she's also aware of the potential risks and the concerns her family might have.
It's a big decision to make, especially when it might go against your family's expectations.
And Kate's going through her own journey of self-discovery.
Navigating her anxiety and her burgeoning relationship with old Sven.
That first meeting after the Lydia Minatoya reading.
And their shared love for literature.
And of course, that memorable date at Frederick and Nelson.
It's like she's taking these tentative steps towards a new relationship.
While also dealing with worries about her family and her own sense of inadequacy.
It's a really relatable struggle, isn't it? Trying to balance personal aspirations with family obligations and self-doubt.
Absolutely. And then Frida's experience in Sarajevo becomes this major turning point in her life.
It really shatters any romanticized notions she might have had about war.
She's confronted with the brutal reality of Sniper Alley. The destruction, the immense suffering.
And she forms these deep connections with Lejla and Irina.
Women who are living through this unimaginable situation every day.
It's a completely different world from Kate's life in Seattle.
And it creates this tension in their friendship, this gap in their understanding of each other's realities.
And one of the most devastating events Frida witnesses is the burning of the National Library,
Which was a deliberate act of cultural destruction.
erasing history and heritage and collective memory.
It's heartbreaking. And Frida sees how Lejla and Irina are trying to preserve their culture and help students despite this immense loss.
It's a testament to the resilience of the human spirit in the face of such adversity.
But Frida struggles with feelings of disconnection and inadequacy as a journalist in Sarajevo.
She feels overwhelmed by the suffering and her own limitations in being able to help,
And eventually, she makes the incredibly difficult decision to leave.
which leaves her with this deep sense of guilt.
Like she's abandoning the people she's come to care about.
It's a really honest portrayal of the emotional complexities of bearing witness to trauma.
And throughout their correspondence, we see these beautiful moments of connection and support.
These little glimmers of hope amidst the darkness.
Like Kate sharing her anxiety with Roy and Sven.
And Sven buying her fear and trembling, even though she's not quite ready for it.
But it's the thought that counts, right?
Absolutely. And Frida and Kirby's friendship in Paris provides this sense of stability and camaraderie.
Especially during the Christmas markets, its scenes are so charming.
And then Kate's unwavering support for Frida after she returns from Sarajevo.
Sending her that mixtape and encouraging her to recognize the impact she did have.
It's a reminder that even small acts of kindness can have a profound effect.
And we also see the bond deepening between Kate and her mother as they talk about Bumpa's past and present.
Sharing memories and finding comfort in those shared experiences.
And that really moving scene when Laisla tastes the sardines Kate grills.
And her emotional response, it's so powerful.
It's like this moment of shared humanity that transcends language and cultural differences.
And the bookstore community rallying around the Ramona Club's efforts for Bosnia.
Kirby's continued presence and support for Frida in Paris.
And Kate's trip to Paris bringing tangible help.
It all shows the power of community and shared purpose in the face of adversity.
That even when things seem overwhelming, individual actions can make a difference.
And both Kate and Frida are on these journeys of finding their own meaning and purpose.
Like Frida realizing that her own me, myself, I perspective might actually be her strength as a writer.
That her unique viewpoint is valuable.
And Kate learning to appreciate different ways of coping and connecting with others.
Moving beyond Sven's constructed happiness theory.
And gaining a deeper understanding of her mother's resilience.
And their ongoing efforts to help the students in Sarajevo.
It highlights the importance of taking action, even when faced with seemingly insurmountable challenges.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways for you?
Well, for me, it's the enduring power of friendship.
How it can bridge these huge distances and sustain us through really difficult times.
And the comfort and connection we find in food and books.
These seemingly ordinary things that become so much more.
And the complex and often messy journeys we all go through in trying to figure out who we are and what our place is in the world.
And the letters between Kate and Frida are just so full of vulnerability and humor and resilience.
They really capture the essence of what it means to be human.
So here's a question for you to ponder as we end this deep dive.
How do your own personal connections and the stories you share help you make sense of the world around you?
And in a world that often feels so chaotic and overwhelming,
What are the things that bring you comfort and a sense of meaning?
maybe it's a favorite book, a shared meal with loved ones.
Or the simple act of connecting with someone who understands you?
And how might your own actions, your own friendships, your own passions
Ripple outwards and create positive change in ways you might never fully realize.
Thank you so much for joining us today for this deep dive into Kate and Frida.
We hope you found it as insightful and engaging as we did.
And we would love to hear your thoughts.
What were some of your favorite moments from our discussion?
Or what reflections do you have on the themes we explored?
Share them with us in the comments below.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive,
Please like and subscribe to our show for more in-depth conversations.
and share it with anyone who you think might appreciate it.
Thanks for being here with us.
We'll see you next time.